give me a cue, okay?
Yeah, it started.
All right. Hello, everyone, and a very good afternoon. We are here today for the national finals of Ethos Trophy 2021-2022. And the theme for this year's convention of NASA is grassroots. So a very warm welcome to the jury members and all our finalists, our council members from NASA. So let me just quickly play a little video and show you what Ethos is up to, because that will give you an idea about what Ethos Trophy is really about from what we do. A very quick one. 1 second. Maybe my sound is not there. Sorry, just 1 second. So that was Ethos. We've always been trying to be the wind beneath the wings of architecture and design students across the country. And being part of the same agenda, we collaborated with NASA over the last few years to launch the Ethos Trophy, which not only focuses on the individual ethos, but also celebrates academic as well as extracurricular work of students and recognizes a star in the making. The difference here between Ethos Trophy and a lot of the other trophies in NASA is that usually the other trophies are, a collaborative effort where an entire team from the college comes together and presents their best work under the different categories and so on. In Ethos Trophy, the individual is taking part and trying to showcase their journey of becoming an architect across the different years. So a quick overview of the timeline for the jury members here. We released the brief around mid-November, and the submission deadline was 31st of January for the stage 1, after which we sent you the first set of entries depending on the academic year you are evaluating. And based on your rankings, these top 5 to 6 students were informed and given time to prepare for the live jury that is happening today right now. So that's about the timeline. It was open to all undergraduate and fresh graduates of architecture of colleges who are affiliated and are part of the NASA regime in general. They were to submit only academic works and not works related to, let's say, an internship or, group works or where other seniors and juniors were taking part. These are the set of registrations we received, almost 400 with the split amongst different years. As mentioned here, 66 different colleges took part from different parts of the country. And we received about 230 submissions overall, and the highest being in the first and second year. So you can see the enthusiasm the young lot has shown. Evaluation criteria as mentioned on the jury sheet, but also for the larger public here. We've split the evaluation criteria into 6 different points, the highest marks being for the design process, because it's also about the journey and not only the end product, and the rest for your ancillary and allied skills, co-curricular activities, presentation skills, the first impression, it can sometimes be the last impression, and technical skills. Judging criteria. So while the portfolio helps us, judge the tangible outcomes, that's the visual product that we will see on screens today. The agenda of Ethos Trophy is also to look at the intangibles. For example, how sensitive the design is, how it's responding to the context, to the socioeconomic factors, its response to the environment and community in which it's placed, expression through their choice of colors and presentations and combination and compositions, and more importantly, look for the values hidden in design and how a sensitive architect, will come out of the process here. The Ethos Trophy has 6 awards for the 6 different categories we have. The Best Thesis Award was launched only this year, so that's going to be a special and first edition as part of NASA Ethos Trophy. The winning participants will receive a citation certificate and be part of the rolling trophy, which is awarded to a unit that is a college, which has the maximum participants over the last 4 years. So let me just show you how we arrived at the sequence for the first 5 presentations for transparency. We picked a random order using this very attractive tool online, which allows us to, quickly decide who goes first and who goes last. It's like tossing a coin in itself. So yeah, through that, we've arrived at the sequence. So number 55 will be presenting first, 87 second, 18 third, 277 fourth, and 79 last. Honoring our jury members here, we have with us today architect Tejasri Lakras, who's a heritage conservation architect by profession and an artist at heart. She's researched extensively on architectural heritage, especially in the Maratha settlements, and published works on national and international platforms. Her project and short film about Kalyan's architectural history, funded through St. Gobain Grants program, was really appreciated by the fraternity as well as the common public and professionals. And she's been reflecting her research and practice through her teaching domain over the last 1 decade. Thank you for being part of this trophy panel, jury panel, Architect Tejasri. We are very honored to have you here. We also have with us architect Anshuman Sharma from Jaipur. He's the founder and principal of the firm Design Inc., which is a Jaipur-based renowned practice offering services in architecture, design, engineering, and valuation services. He's been a regional chapter chair for IIID, that's Indian Institute of Interior Designers, and our association goes long back to different quizzes and several other activities we've been doing with IIID. Fueled by shared ideas and a focus on service, his team is committed towards excellent design and designing, and is delivering multidisciplinary solutions for meaningful outcomes. Thank you for your time and efforts, Architect Anshuman, and we are very happy to have you here as well.
Thank you.
So this is the agenda for the day. We'll be looking at the first year top 5 entries, as I have announced before. Now, a quick rule for the participants. At the 8th minute, you will hear a beeping sound. So that's a warning that you have only 2 minutes left. And at 10 minutes, we'll be cutting you down. So please make sure that you're prepared to present in 10 minutes. After every presentation, the jury has about 5 minutes for a Q&A round. And at the end of all the 5 presentations, we'll have a private discussion room for ourselves, for the jury to deliberate and arrive at the results, which will be announced during the annual convention that NASA holds every year. So with that, I invite the first finalist of the day, code number 55, to go on stage. Thank you.
I'll share my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So very good afternoon, jurors. And I'm very honored to put forward this album of my architectural journey. So in the next 10 minutes, I'll take you down to the road of my academics while also elaborating essentially on my learnings throughout. I rightly mentioned, and I also religiously believe that what sets me apart is my unusual approaches and the eccentricities that I seek in architecture. Starting with allied design, elusive the abstraction. I like to say that when we all look at a field of roses, I'll deliberately pluck some of those that I like and then put them in a beautiful bouquet. Similarly, for this photo abstraction exercises, we all see a frame full of lines, but my approach was to just put some lines together in different mediums so as to make for different mediums so as the essence of the image remains the same, but the identity of the image gets unidentified. Architecture is hand in hand goes with the art, and now in this exercise, we were asked to represent a story in a beautiful colored poster, and then change the storyline of the poster two-dimensional composition of line, dot, and curves. Soon after this, we were asked to translate this 2D composition into a extruded three-dimensional composition around which revolves around the story setting. This exercise not only helped me understand the volumes and the three-dimensional composition, but also helped me how can I translate a basic literature into a composition. Going forward to the stangrams exercise, we were asked to make a 2D composition wherein the process was to break it down with the help of regulating lines and then extruding it finally into a 3D form. Herein, while extruding it, it was not just my understanding of volumes, but also how colors play a very important role, how spaces between the masses, the hierarchy of massing goes, and how the colors and extrusion can come together to form a holistic appearance of a form. Going forward to architectural design, it has always, for me, has been an interactive study of people and places. In our very naive stage of architecture, when we started, the exercises were designed to be very personal to us, wherein we traced back the memories of our childhood to different settings of rural and urban and developed a holistic sense of spaces that we relate to our childhood memories. These settings, around these settings, we tried to build a narrative that was actually could be put forward as a pictorial representation of our memories. Since we were learning in an online medium, so I tried different ways to explore how can I really put my thoughts forward. And not only this, but also how actually I can make represent my memories in a different yet elusive way. Going forward, after really understanding these real settings, we got into Pocket Paradise, which was a hypothetical setting, wherein I was asked to carve out spaces which I dream of or I have an utopia about, which actually helped me build differently about how I feel about different spaces and how they belong to me. Architectural design has always been a gradual process of learning from different settings, but this exercise was very different because it helped me explore the spaces and understand that how spaces actually have a character to themselves. I was asked to design a space between two and parent end spaces which actually themselves have a character. I explored in different planes, horizontal, vertical, and angular planes, and how they actually help in giving the entire form some volume and a character to the space. Also, starting with architecture, I looked at these openings as just some escape to go in and come out, and so something like that. But during this transitive spaces exercise, I learned how these openings can be a joyful and a blissful play of light and shadow that goes around, and how that adds to the quality of a space that a visitor is viewing in person. The space actually revolved around majorly with different openings that were happening in different facades, and the volume of the space changed and the light balanced it properly. Overall, I had a great time learning different rendering techniques in this exercises now, wherein I was asked to explore different methods, mediums, and which actually helped me even in today's time with my different architecture academics. Humanities has for some reason been so close to architecture that I never felt it was lost when I got into architecture. And this trying on different structures and making them hand-in models actually make me understand how their details and intricacy from the past and present are linked to each other, and also that helps me develop the liking between the past and the present. Architecture being very fun to me, so electives was a subject wherein we were asked to put forward our thoughts in a gradual process, and we were given a freedom of exploring the medium we wanted to. So doodling was one I chose and explored a lot, and this was a very fun exercise I did. Coming forward to this, model making and doing handiwork has been a mock about how can I understand these intricate models, these different shapes and forms and many different mediums, and actually put them together, understand their scale and proportion, their details and intricacies. Since architecture is not only about designing, it also goes hand in hand with technical. So orthographic projections and axonometry actually help me develop a vision throughout the academics, that how can I actually rotate, pan, or visualize a form at different angles and at different planes. As in a primary school, we start with alphabets. So was this building construction for us. We started with bricks that are the basic building blocks of any structure. We learned different bonds, brick bonds, and then trusses, wooden trusses. Getting more into technicals, we had wooden joineries, different joineries, arches, staircase, and the wooden staircase details, doors, windows details. For some reason, technicals was not always so technically oriented from our side, as we had this very interesting exercise about how can we actually design a facade using different arches, and then how it helped me not only learn the technicals properly, but also made me more inclined towards technical in a fun learning way. Lastly, whenever it happened that I felt and I need an escape to my architectural things, so I used to do these non-scholastic hobbies, which maybe could be capturing some frames as perspectives or just illustrations. For some reason, I also realized that doing my non-scholastic work was also actually helping me develop an architectural sense within, as like illustrations, while making illustrations, it helped me understand the perspectives, the views, the light, the color, and the textures. Also, some of these photo montages that I made and the posters. So this I like to conclude it, but like this comprehensive journey of my architectural years has been a gradual roller coaster of so many learnings, which help me develop a skill set that is helping me today in my academics. And also, I see it that it will help me ease many more problems that are coming forward for me. Last thing, while I was compiling this entire album of folio for myself, the same adrenaline rush I had while getting into architecture, I had the same while doing it. So it made me felt that I would love to put it forward, and I'll love to carry it forward ahead as well, and will stay the same dedication towards architecture. Thank you.
Thank you, finalists. Over to the jury panel for a Q&A.
Are we allowed to ask which college they represent?
America, not yet, right?
No, you're not.
No,
Sorry?
we're not allowed to reveal their name and college yet.
All right, okay. So all I want to say is that, I'm thoroughly impressed with the work the girl has put in, and, very happy to see the presentation and the skills she possesses at this juncture of, her career. That is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any comments, Architect Tejasri?
Yeah, I totally agree with Anshuman. Just one more addition, that you are trying to integrate your art and your passion for the artistic work with the architecture. In the technical skills, in the design skills is what you mentioned. And that was seen very clearly. So it was very good. Just one question that I have is, when you are mentioning, I am trying to take forward, or when you're mentioning this is helping me in the, so where is it exactly helping you, and what exactly is helping you nurturing yourself in the architecture field?
Yeah. So majorly it's helping me with the academics right now. As we are growing in more into technicals and designing subjects, it has the dedication I had in the first year. I am glad that the same I still have, and that's how I feel the same energy I have, and all these exercises just make me feel still the same about architecture, and that's how it's helping me in my academics stay dedicated towards the, no matter how burdened we feel, but still the dedication towards the architecture and the academics remains the same for me.
Right. So this is what academics, it's not different. that the artistic passion that you are carrying forward is also part of your architecture learning journey. So do not say that meaning it is helping me in my academics. It's part of your academics, and it will grow higher as you grow in your bachelor's journey. And it was very good. Thank you very much. We can go to the next one.
Thank you. So inviting number 87, code 87 to present next. And thank you 55 for your time. You managed very well within the 10 minutes given to you. All the best.
Thank you.
Number 87, you can begin sharing your screen. We are ready.
Yes, ma'am. Is it presenting, ma'am?
Yes, all well. Go ahead. Go full screen.
Just 1 second. I think my camera isn't on. Yeah. So good evening, everybody present here. I'm here to walk you through my first year of architecture. Architecture as a course captivated me since creativity was a major driving force in my life. At an early age, while discussing the kind of field I wish to pursue in the future, a mentor who understood my talents and had great influence on me advised looking into architecture. Architecture was everything I wanted, and everything I imagined was real. Architecture had the power to make dreams real and build the frameworks of our lives. There were endless possibilities for making the things work creatively, and I was ready to dive in. I made the decision and got on board, and hence the title Genesis, a new beginning to my life. Because of the pandemic and the online mode, my first year was fairly brief, lasting about just 7 months. Nonetheless, the experiences that I gained were enormous. When I began my first year, I was really thrilled to design beautiful structures and spaces. But then I soon realized that basic design was a very crucial thing since it formed the cornerstone of any design. My first year projects taught me the value of architectural fundamentals, and therefore I'd like to start by sharing my work for architecture for allied design. So, starting with a quote by Enzo Piano, enjoying art is a personal matter. It is made up by contemplation, silence, and abstraction. So, abstraction in art means the subtraction of elements to create simplified form. And in this exercise, that is photo abstraction, we chose a photograph and created aesthetic compositions both in color and monochromatic. And the process aimed towards introduction to elements of design and their correlation with each other. This exercise also helped me develop intricate painting skills. Next was standgrams. It was a very engaging exercise where basic forms and shapes were understood and composed on a square base with regulating lines in mind. These compositions were then neatly painted, and to further comprehend massing and volume creation, the two-dimensional composition was extruded in 3D using the software SketchUp. It was a really fun learning exercise. Reminiscing about the childhood days when you could only go to bed after listening to mother's folktale. Those were the days. And this activity to depict the childhood folktale as an abstract poster took us right back in time. The tale of how the Norse mythological god Thor got his hammer was chosen and abstracted in stages. It was a humorous tale with fun characters, and posters depicted every details beautifully. Next, a dramatic and mischievous twist was added to the original tale while staying true to the idea and depicted in the third playful looking poster. Coming to line.curve, it was a continuation exercise that focused on creating a tangible volume from an interesting 2D composition of just lines, dots, and curves. The volume created would serve as an architectural backdrop for the twisted tail, and it initiated the process of creating volumes and shapes and redefined three-dimensional perception. In this process, I developed the skill of translating narratives and stories into tangible volumes and spaces. Coming to architectural design, my first architectural design assignment in college was to create an artistic map of one's urban surroundings and depicting places in the area that are special value to us. It aided in the development of visual and spoken storytelling abilities by being able to narrate personal experiences at places like my school, the local street vendors, my favorite eateries, and all the other places that I had shared some experience in the past by the means of graphics. In Glenn Murcutt's words, we do not create the work. I believe we, in fact, are the discoverers. Pocket Paradise was montaged to opening up portals that took us back to our childhood days and to imagine spaces that depict my creative explorations. The space was within a glacial cave with all of my comforts. Next was transitive exercise. The next exercise was transitive spaces. It was an exercise where the feeling of enjoying architecture was maximum. It was a sensory space-making exercise that primarily focused on spatial experiences of the visitors. The aim was to design seamless transitional intermediate spaces between two bare and brutalist spaces that were assigned to us. I came up with the concept of using partially visible design features, depth of space, intense light at path ends, varying heights, and multiple levels to keep the visitors engaged. The technical details for transitive spaces are on the left, which is followed by views which are captured from a handmade physical model. The points of views are indicated by small green dots in the plans, and the first end sparks a sense of curiosity. Hence, to maintain this feeling, the transitive space begins with a ramp dipping downwards that leads the visitors to a wider sunken space. The principal sources of light here are provided by slender openings that allow a visual play of light and shadow, and a slit opening at eye level runs across the right wall and acts as a lookout from the sunken space. In the next zone, the visitors are introduced to the idea of scale and proportion to wall planes of varying heights. And on turning right over here, the visitors must decide which path to choose as they open up into subspaces of the same next zone and offer spatial experiences that are completely distinct. Walking to the last portion of the transitive space where the floor planes have been experimented upon. After landing on the lower level through a ramp, the visitor enters a wide space where a series of walls placed at angles leads the visitors to the second end space. Additionally, there were level options to choose from for the visitors, and the roof of end B was also made accessible by a suspended path that runs across the walls. So, in short, each subspace that I created in the overall project had its own visual identity, and due to the distinct design features, it piqued the visitors' curiosity and encouraged them to move further and explore more. As Sir Ludwig Mies van der Rohe said, architecture starts when you carefully put two bricks together. There it begins. Building construction is about deep analysis and the study of structures followed by precise drafting and construction techniques, joineries, and materials. In my first year of architecture, I studied a variety of construction techniques ranging from bricks and brick bonds to arches and timber construction. The drawings were created after acquiring deep knowledge about the techniques. Like for brick bonds, we made 3D models using erasers and then drafted what we observed. This was isn't an like I'm sharing an experience, and I from which isn't from first year, and I know it shouldn't be mentioned, but I would really like to share that I recently got an opportunity to participate in a hands-on construction workshop where I used the knowledge gained in first year construction classes to build my own rammed earth wall, cob bench, arch, and even casted bricks. So, in short, the construction in first year was very interesting, where each assignment helped me understand new techniques, and then I got the hands on, and hence I developed upon it. Collecting data, maps, plans, sections, elevations, and making models of the assigned structure, which for me was the step pyramid at Joseph, was a part of the 2D and 3-dimensional analysis of the river valley structures for the subject humanities. It was a wonderful experience that not only provided insight into existing structures, but also helped me improve my model making skills. Lastly, skills like sketching, painting, model making, and photography as a student in a creative field, I believe, are an advantage, and one should keep practicing. Throughout the busy academic schedule of which lasted just 7 months, I found time and tried to develop my abilities even further. That's the end. Thank you so much, jurors, for patiently listening to my presentation.
Thank you, 87. You've kept your time well. Over to the jury panel for their comments and questions.
I'll request Architect Tejri to please begin. I'll follow.
Yeah, sure. One or two questions, meaning not the questions as such, but I would like to know, how are you trying to bring or reflect your technical skills in your design? In which part of your design process that reflection can be seen?
Yeah, so all the technical details that we learned were used in exercises such as transitive spaces, where we design staircases, ramps, and all. So that was where it was utilized in the first year, and not just that, and even in the second year that we are studying, a lot of that is being implemented in subjects like architectural design.
Any
and interior
example or
design.
instance in your presentation, in your slide, which I might
Yes.
have missed and you would like to throw a
Yeah.
light on?
So on this slide itself, I have made 3D models of houses that have trusses. Then there are staircases. Going back to transitive spaces, this was a complete technical section where we had the plans and sections of the space that we designed in AD.
Right. Okay. And the good thing that I saw was your focus is more on the details, and you are trying to give attention to every single inch of the space, which is very nicely seen in your design, in your artworks as well. So yes, that is it at my end. Thank you. Over to
Thank
you,
you.
Architect Anshuman.
Okay, so I don't know your name, so I'll call you Mr. 87. So yeah, I think I'm happy with the presentation, and the comment I'd like to make, which is not directed towards your presentation, but in general, because you're just just entering this stream almost 7 months, as you said. I'm assuming a year now. Is that most architects, and I include myself, we tend to sometimes over design. We tend to overthink, we tend to over design, and that particularly that thing actually sometimes kills the very velocity of design. So just bear in mind that this design process, whatever you take up, you must be very clear at the concept level, and once you've traveled the distance, it's essential to understand that what you had earlier thought, you've taken up right to the hilt, and you've done justice to design. So because most times we come across architects, designers who are so full of themselves that they just don't tend to listen. So just bear in mind that these aspects are there when you do go forward. Thank you.
All the best. And over to the next one. That's number 1818 for his or her presentation. You may share your screen, the next one, 18.
Yes, ma'am.
64 ethos, 87 you may leave.
So is my screen visible?
Yeah, you can go full screen.
Just a minute. Is my screen visible now?
It is.
So good morning to all the esteemed jury panels. It's rightly said, you are the creator of your own destiny. The reason behind entering this prolific world of architecture lies deep within the stories of my childhood. Embracing tall structures, I developed a keen interest in building that up myself. That's where Lego entered my life. The bricks that changed my life from being a toy story to a world of enormous glory. So beginning with the very first exercise of Architectural Design Studio, narrating the imaginary tales. It was basically an exercise envisioned to let our imagination be portrayed out on a frame using different volumes and finally narrating a story based on its characteristics. So these were the various alternatives tried using the cylindrical modules before finalizing the composition. So here's the final composition that is made using the cylindrical modules that follows the design principles of emphasis and dynamism. As this composition gives a quite adventurous context, the story plotted was based on a mountain expedition filled in with tragedies. The vertical limit, displaying how the protagonist goes up the entire mountain range to save his sister from who got stuck in a crevice. These are the 5 different phases the protagonist undergoes to achieve the desired goal. Moving on to the next exercise from Basic Design Studio, the studio wherein I got to explore the art of abstraction. So the brief recommended us to understand the characteristics of a leaf and create its abstract version to represent the design idea. So the first step of the exercise was to study the patterns of veins in a leaf and sketch out the generated observations. Next step included contemplating the leaf into a simplified version. While I was doing this, I thought to incorporate the Gestalt principles of design to give a different character to the leaf form. After getting all this work ready, I tried different patterns out of the generated simplified version. So these are the various patterns that I derived. Moving on to the final stage, this is the form derivation. So the leaf segments here are lifted to derive the steps adorned with intricate voids. And here's what I've created. It's a view that shows a portal towards the multiverse of virtual reality. Here, the view also showcases the abstraction of the leaf form and the incorporation of various patterns generated during the earlier stages. Going forward with this exercise from Architectural Design Studio 2 that was formulated to redefine the territory of creativity. It involved a design to design a resting bubble for 2 people with the functional space carved out using the intersection of 2 different solids. So a general introduction to the site that is situated in Surat, Gujarat, setting amidst a dense urban network of the Pal locality. It's basically a jogger's park. So placing a resting bubble in this particular context provided an opportunity for the visitors to have a break, to recreate and relax. Here's a diagram showing the sun path analysis and also the southwesterly winds impact on the site. The marked rectangle shows the location of the bubble on a minor contour lined with trees all along its periphery. So I wanted to achieve the design concept is based on achieving a hybridized structure which caters to multiple functions. So the form derivation follows the same page by the pentagonal prism and the cylinder intersecting to create hybridized volume. Here, the pentagonal prism is slightly inclined according to the side the slope offers. Coming to the isometric view of the side, this is the basic idea that I thought of here is that the central space gets segregated into two resting spaces with the while maintaining its own functional character as a transitional as well as a sitting space. So the two cylindrical spaces get converted into the resting pods, while the prism acts as a staircase for transition. The roof offers a dynamic combination of prism and a cylinder adorned with the material steel and asphalt shingles. The other major design material used here is wood. Here are some of the handmade model photographs to depict so that I can understand the scale and proportions of the bubble. Coming on to the technical drawings, here is the basic plan. So one climbs up the staircase to enter into the two resting pods with the provisions of bed space and shelves. The section BB dash shows the same internal environment of the resting bubble. The another section A dash shows the vertical movement across the bubble and also a circular window that lights up the entire central space. Here's a contextual view that is put in the actual environment, providing the visitors an earthly experience. Talking about the climatic response, oriented along the northeast axis, the bubble gets sufficient sunlight throughout the day. Awning windows have been provided on either sides to achieve cross ventilation because it is situated in a region with hot and humid climate. These are the basic anthropometric details of bed space and shelves, along with the staircase details of tread and riser. Moving forward to the next subject, the history of culture that envisioned us to understand a community's cultural aspects and its impact on their housing. So I did a case study on the Dawoodi Bohras, a closely knit community that evinces the episodes of the golden era through an alluring amalgamation of culture and architecture. Situated on the banks of river Saraswati, Sidpur is an enchanting gem that was once an abode for the Bohra community. This image portrays how the epiphanies of culture weave the facade into a homogeneous streetscape. Though being influenced by the European colonial housing, the internal spaces follow the local housing typology of pole houses with highly introverted spaces to maintain privacy from outsiders. The streets of the town remain shaded throughout the day because of the closely packed dwellings that also symbolize the sense of togetherness amongst the community. Here's a typical Bohra house plan that shows the organization of spaces among the overall plan. So, as a conclusion, what I have derived here is culture and form, with the latter being a manifestation masked behind the layers of abstraction. In a similar way to Bohra housing that blends Victorian architecture with Gujarat architecture in its own unique way. Coming to the last subject, building materials and construction technology, in which I have showcased the exercise undertaken during the past year about the study of an arch, its construction details, its characteristics, and the classification based on material and workmanship. Finally, here's a display of all my extracurricular works, including photographs, capturing the elements, the details, the wildlife, and a bunch of portraits and digital arts tried during the academic year, trying different medias and softwares for its execution, ending with a short poem composed during the pandemic. Running through my veins like a current of joy. Oh, really again, I can play with my toys. The echoes of yearning to get those days back. Childhood, my dear, I missed you really bad. When I woke up in the morning, I found something new. No, it's actually old darling, painted in a lovely hue. Oh God, I'm reliving my childhood. Is it a reality or a dream? I don't care much as I should. Now I can only feel the ecstasy and gleam. Thank you.
Thanks. Over to the jury panel. You've kept your time well. So,
Yeah, very impressive presentation, I must say. And the way you spoke and the whole speech was quite synced with what you were presenting on screen. And third thing that I felt was even you being at the first year level, and many people in architecture academics fraternity are really trying harder to make it urban inclusive and holistic at the first year level itself, but it is not seen. But in your case it is seen very well. So I was really happy to see such a matured level of understanding at this stage in itself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, I completely agree with HD. Very nice presentation. You've narrated it quite well. I just have one question. If you could just go back to the design slide,
This one?
the one before. Yeah. So you mentioned here, a combination of steel, asphalt, shingles, and wood.
Huh.
Is there any other material you could think of instead of steel? Any other material you may probably use as an alternative but steel?
As an alternative, as actually in here, there's a cladding of steel on the outer surface of the cylinder. So as an alternative, I can go with a simple paint, because the wooden framework, there's a wooden framework of the cylinder, and then there's a steel cladding over it. So any other alternative can be used.
Okay, so what you're saying is, if I'm getting you correctly, the entire framework is of wood.
Yes.
Just put a kind of cladding over the drum, is that? And that is of steel.
Yes.
And why have you done that?
Just to achieve quite a juxtaposition between the two materials, like of steel and wood. Both have different characteristics. So I wanted to create a juxtaposition between the materials also while exploring the form. So that's why I've used.
Okay, so Mr. 18, I don't expect much, where you are at this moment, because you're just in first year. It's very nice the way you brought this up. But as you travel, you'll come to learn about more materials and the effects of such materials in such places. But job well done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, panel, and thank you, number 18. So you have some material exploration to do along the way, and I'm sure you will learn as you move forward in your academics. With that, we move on to the fourth presentation of the day. That's 277. So Marika, can you please have the person? You may begin. Okay, I think that person is still connecting to the audio. Yeah, 277, you may unmute and begin sharing your presentation. All the best.
Yes, ma'am. Is this panel visible?
Yeah, all good.
Okay. Hello, everyone. And here's my portfolio. And I named it CRISP as something that increases gradually. And this portfolio shows my steps into architecture and what I learned in this 1 year of journey. Reading the brief, the next pages are what I have collected. So starting from the first page, this was a dream house design. We were supposed to design a residence that we dreamed of, and also we have to incorporate all the functions and all of the aesthetic qualities and a unique character in our design. And we have to experiment some curved forms in 3D. So who are the users? So users were the 6 family members of mine, and the needs were the comfortable and friendly environment to live in. And the needs were differing from the ages, from their sex, and from their practices. And they needed an intervention as it was their dream. So the site was at Bhopal only, where I reside. And the concept which I took on this one was a very cool environment that we want in our residence through a very through a dreaming kind of concept. So I started taking the Hobbit as an inspiration and started the form from a hilly top, and then gradually evolved it into a green roof and a stair to reach at the top and have a good view from the top. And this is the final design that I came up with. Behind the designs, these were the drawings. This was the elevation from the front. This was the rear elevation. This is a section from the living hall. This is another section from the dining and the kitchen. This is an elevation from the side. This was the floor plan that I proposed for the design. The one X factor that we were instructed to propose in this design. So I proposed Avaduhana, as it's from the culture that we needed, but in our house we didn't have such. So I proposed for this one. And something that I thought from out of the box was a cylindrical glass that would be running whole throughout the roof of the house, as the green roof would be cooling down the environment inside. And I studied the green roof and its advantages. Then also at the south portion of the house, where the direct sunlight is penetrating all throughout the day, I proposed some timber battens to cool and provide some shadows. This was the case study that we performed before we were inside this project. We studied toilets and kitchens that need some detailed explanation before designing. Then this is another design which was before the residence, and here we started. We were introduced how we design in architecture, and here the users were two salesperson vicinity. Their needs were comfortable working space and to provide easy and happily to the customers. And they need the intervention because the space that was before, I will show you the case study on which I have made this, was very congested and a very low headroom, and the circulation space was very low. And so the proposed design was better than the before. And it was done on the same place which the case study was done. So here the concept was evolved from the Saatchi logo itself, extruding that and giving an edge so that the appliances could fit in, as most of the appliances are rectilinear. Then the symmetry was done because the front portion was very wide, and it was proving to be insecure for a single user to hand on the customers. Also, the coin motion was observed, and the final form was intersection of these forms. I also learned about some advanced materials like titanium dioxide, which can be coated on ACPs, which is a good smog eater and also helps in reducing the smog and contributing to nature. This was a plan that I proposed in this design. The refrigerator placed at the center was providing two separate spaces for the two users. The section, as you can see here, has an insulation on the top so as to prevent from the heat in Bhopal. And these were the physical models I made for this design. Also, we thought of some aesthetic natural flowers that could be placed around the stall, and complementing the color and the theme of the stall, I proposed this blue and white climber flower, that is Clitoria tenate. And this was the case study that was performed before before going into the stall design. Here we studied the stall and what all the activities, the needs of the user, and the area where it is located, the schedule, the time schedule which the refills were done, and eliminating all of the problems in the new design. This was another activity that we were introduced to before the residence design. We have to study spaces, time, and activities, and we have to document that on a single sheet. And we have to be innovative. So here I showed the spaces and the activities with diagrams, but the time with shadows, as making the whole sheet a sundial, and the shadows would be projecting the time of the activity. We were to be documented social as well as some individual activities in this. Here's a easy illustration of how this sheet is working. This was an activity of a workshop, and we have to propose a logo for National Urban Digital Mission, and this was my logo proposed. The logo inscribed the N, U, D, and M letters. Also, the clip art representation of building, citizen-centric, and digital Wi-Fi emblem for its functional part. Before going into all of the design part, we were introduced to the simple yet very learning model making exercise. Here we have to choose 3 regular solid shapes, and we have to design it into something. So here I extruded the whole and then made some level differences from the elevation, and this was the model that I made at the last. And after that, I designed some interiors of that. A pavilion model was to exercise some physical models and expertise our hands on. These are some drafting sheets. Due to lack of sheet space, I was not able to accommodate more. The extracurricular activities, here I am presenting the painting, and I love to do things that actually contribute to my home decorations. And this was a sketching that I done in the first semester. And these are the quillings, and these are some editings on the softwares. And now I would like to present the video. Is it audible or not?
I don't think we can hear any audio. You may want to stop sharing. Click on share and make sure you you checkbox the share device sound option.
Okay. Oh, yes. Got it. Yes.
Yeah, all good.
Yes, that's it.
Well done to 7-7. That was really impressive. Over to the jury panel. Let's hear what the jury has to say.
Yeah, thank you. So I just wanted to know, meaning the way you explained, it felt like
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'll continue.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, so the way you explained it, it felt like this was there in the exercise, this was being asked, and so you did it. So I just wanted to know more about what is your creativity in any of the exercise. If you could just help me understand through any one single example, how did you add your own identity to it?
I'll take this exercise as we have to creatively document the space, time, and activities in a single sheet. So here I made the borders of the sheet as sundial timings, and the sketches were arranged in a very random manner. And then these spaces would be visible at the behind of these users. But the time was depicted in a creative manner as sundial. So sun rises from the east, and the shadows at 6 a.m. would be casted towards the west. So this way, the whole creativity was depicted in the sheet. I
Okay.
hope.
Yeah, that is understood. And the presentation skills were also very good, no doubt in that. It's just that I felt more explanation about what is your identity and how it becomes your own design could have been explained in more detail. That is it. Thank you. Over to you, Architect Anshuman.
Thank you, Tej. Okay, so Mr. 277, my first question is, which architect inspires you the most?
Zaha Hadid was one of them, as you can also.
I would have actually thought so, because looking at the structure you've designed, I also thought so. Probably you are, quite in line with Zaha Hadid. All right, coming to your design, have you thought about any materials that you've used here? Because you didn't talk about materials.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I was studying the Zaha Hadid Heather Ali Center, and I got to know that she used the material in which we made the skeletal of the structure with trusses, and over that we used high density polymer with cement, and we sprayed over that, and that creates the frame of the structure under which is the truss. So here I thought of the same on this one, like the front part material, and also the roof was I incorporated the green roof. The material I used glasses on these cylindrical these cylinders, and on these eastern and western side, I placed some rods over which the creepers could climbers could climb on, and that would provide a cool environment inside. And wood in front of wood on the stairs to provide a royal and luxury appearance to the structure.
Okay, so it's quite interesting actually, although I won't like to make more comments on the material being used because I understand you're in first year, but you've really come out with a very nice presentation, and the design is something which is which I should say is not the usual design. So good luck and thank you.
Thank you.
We are done with dot on time. So Marika, could you let the next presenter in? That is 79.
Do I have to leave?
Yes, you have
Yes.
277.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, 79. So you are presenting. You may screen share and unmute yourself, turn your video on and start presenting.
Yes, ma'am. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Good evening, everyone. So this is my portfolio. So this is the first page of my portfolio. So this picture sort of defines my interests in a very good manner. Actually, it's a plein air painting that was being made by me of a landscape that is behind my house. So it shows my interest of nature, architecture, and painting, everything in one single picture. How I love to blend everything, both nature and architecture, and how architecture complements its nature. So moving on to the first page. This was a dream house project. We were to do a residence project that was to design our own dream house. So the whole concept of this house was traced from two elements basically. One being the dendron, which is a basic neural connection of us, and the other being a plan of a Kerala style courtyard house. So plan of a Kerala style courtyard house was reduced, which is square, is reduced to a triangular one, which then tilted gives us this form that when evolved with the principle of the dendron, which I said earlier, gives which led to the form which final form which I'm having. So so the and the my whole concept was based on connections with nature, people, and spaces, and the same was traced in this house. As you can see, this was a plan where a long lobby or courtyard is seen, and in the middle of that is my courtyard, which connects all the spaces with each other, which thereby connects people. This is the plan of the house, and this you can see is a view from the courtyard. This is the front view of the house, and this here is an aerial view of the house. This is the front elevation. This is the section cut through the courtyard, and this is another section cut through the courtyard. So courtyard here acts as a very important element in the whole concept, as based on the uh, which is the exact element which effectuates the principle that I want to share through the concept of the house. Moving on. So this was a star design we were to do. So I designed a coconut oil shop. So the whole concept of was derived from the shape of the coconut itself. So the form was basically a hemisphere, which was slightly tilted, and then the bottom portion was slightly cut, which led to this form we are seeing now. Then certain elements like the glass window, the roof, the glass roof, etc., also added to the form of the building. Then certain textures and paneling is also done, which mimics the shape of a coconut. So we are having a circular plan which has a counter, a measuring space, a storage, and a customer waiting area in this. And it was given cross ventilation by the windows shaped as circular, which also mimics the
image of a coconut itself. Moving on, this was the model which was done for this stall design, and this was made with clay and wire mesh inside to reinforce the clay on place. This was how the final model of the my my stall came like this. And this, what you can see, which you can see, is a pavilion which was we were made to do in our workshop of models. So I made this pavilion completely out of wood and etc. This was another model which was done to study forms and shapes. This was very interesting because I found out how orienting some of the shapes in different forms creates interesting. This sort of looks like it is standing alone. Here it is like it's cantilevered. Over here it is without any connections. That was interesting to learn how forms are created by orientation and how it's moving on to the next page. This is a sheet which shows a glimpse of my building construction. This is a sheet which shows my photography and sketches. So I was very fond of taking photos in the forests and all. This is a photo I had taken of a squirrel which was in my camera, bird which was holding a fish in its mouth. These are some of the sketches which I had drawn, all pencil sketches. Yes, ma'am, that's it about my portfolio.
Well done, 79. Now, if I may ask the jury to give their comments.
Yes, ma'am.
Anshuman sir is not there.
He's there.
Okay. Sir, would you like to go ahead first?
Yeah, sure. Okay, Mr. 79, I'd like you to tell us more about the materials you're going to use in making that coconut shop.
And if you could also switch on your camera.
Yes, ma'am.
So can you elaborate on the materials you're going to use on making the shell of the coconut shop?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. The materials is I have used wooden panels as material in that, which sort of shows the texture of a coconut. It was actually wooden panels, sir.
No, so are you saying that wooden panels are going to be the exterior cladding, or the entire crust is going to be made out of solid wood?
No, sir. Only the exterior cladding, not the
Okay,
entire
so
structure.
what is the actually shell going to be made of?
Sir, it's going to be made of concrete.
RCC.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any further questions, and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so I just was hoping to see more highlights on the design process part and and the overall presentation skills parts. Why I'm saying, because it is clearly mentioned that these are the criterias, and they hold a pretty much good amount of weightage. And when it came to your presentation, it seemed like you kept your original sheets as it is. You could have just made it more interesting in such a way that that it goes very well coordinated with your speech, and not everything of your sheet comes on the screen in one go, because it becomes confusing for the third person, for the juror, or anybody who is seeing the sheet for the first time. That is it. You can take care of that maybe in your next 4 years. And thank you. All the best.
Thank you.
Thanks to the panel. Thanks, number 79. I hope you will take the feedback in a constructive form as you move ahead in your academic life. With that, we are done with the 5 presentations of the finalists of the day. And once the finalist has left this meeting, we can begin with the jury deliberation and arrive at the results. Marika, I hope you'll take care of the YouTube part.
Yes.
So just give us a cue when we are ready for the deliberation. 79.